from the Wings Etc. studios. Ragz and The Bartender, brought to you by Swan Lake Resort. 95.7 The Fan.
Good morning, everybody. It's Ragz and The Bartender, 8:03 on 95.7 The Fan. 52 degrees out there on a rainy Wednesday. Your hump day is going to be wet today, so be careful as you get to work. And don't forget, listen live at thefanmichiana.com or on the iTunes app. Make sure you download it to your phone immediately because we got a great final hour lined up for you. Steve Wilfong Jr. going to join us in a little bit, talk about a nice little recruiting job they did with Notre Dame once again. And, of course, we'll get to the world of sports with you, Dan Patrick, at 9 and all that kind of fun stuff. Get back into the incognito story. And, it's messy, Craig. It's, you know what? There's so many layers to this that we're just scratching the surface here. No doubt about it. Joining us on the Pub and Grill Fan Toll-Free Hotline, a great guest to have on today because he's the radio color voice of both the Michigan Wolverines and the Detroit Lions, and he's happy to have him on. Jim Brandstatter. Jim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Not too bad. You can find Jim, as a matter of fact, at one of the best Twitter accounts ever, at BrandyManCan.
Love it.
Jim, before we get into the Nebraska game and the debacle that was last week against the Spartans, let's talk about these Lions real quick because the planets are aligning here with Aaron Rodgers going down and a big game this Sunday. I mean, if the Lions are ever going to win this division, it is theirs for them to take.
Well, certainly their destiny's in their own hands, and that's great to have because you got nobody to blame if it doesn't work. So, yeah, you're right, and they've played well enough to put themselves in position. But, once it's there, that we all talk about it, you got to do it. You got to finish. And right now that's what the Lions have to do. But you're right. Things are working out for them from a standpoint of what looks good, but what looks good isn't good until you actually do it. And they've got to do it first.
No doubt about it, because they were big winners on a bye week. It looks like they're going to get Nate Burleson back. So they'll be the healthiest team in the division right now.
Pretty amazing, isn't it? And they've had their moments, too. I mean, they played without Calvin and they played without Reggie Bush in the first 8 games of the year. So they've had their moments where they've had guys out, their big-name guys. I don't think they've had the moments where they've been out for any length of time, like Rodgers or Cutler maybe for the Bears. So, thank your lucky stars. This is a league about attrition and health, and you hopefully, you're the lucky team and you don't get your key guys hurt. And so far the Lions, have been doing okay with that.
And the last game you called, obviously, was one that'll live in Detroit Lion infamy, was the Cowboy game, and Calvin Johnson just went berserk in that game. Boy, that was a nice way to go into the bye week, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that works out okay. You go, 80 yards in the last minute with no timeouts, and Stafford pulls one out of his hat. I mean, it was a remarkable game, first of all, and then it was an unbelievable win, and Stafford and Johnson and the entire offense really made some amazing plays. I mean, Chris Durham, you can't forget about him. Don't forget about Reggie Bush. You talk about going to the bye week with some confidence when you come up with that kind of game against a team that, an NFC team and a team that you have to beat because you want to put yourself in a position at 5-3 to be in position to go the rest of the season and have a chance to win the division. It was just all. It was all right there, and they got it done. Improbably, impossibly, but they did. And the NFL is about W's, and that's what you do.
He calls every Michigan game for us on our sister station 1290. Nebraska coming up this weekend. And you bring up an 80-yard drive with no timeouts that the Lions pulled off. I've seen it once before. It happened against Michigan at Penn State. I am still reeling about that game, and they probably are too. And you had to call that. I apologize.
No, you know what? That's just one of those. You've got to make plays when they're there. I mean, you talk about a perfect example. The same drive, Lions made plays. They were there. I mean, Stafford hit Durham down the sideline. He made that play. Durham made that catch. Against Penn State, Michigan had guys in position to make interceptions, and they didn't. And Penn State took advantage. That's the difference between winning or losing. And you're in position to make a play. As a player, you got to make that play. And when you do, you give your team a better chance to win.
Jim, what's wrong with this Michigan Wolverine team? At 1-point favorite to at least be right there to see Ohio State, both of them going into undefeated to that final game of the regular season. What has went wrong with the Wolverine football team this year?
Well, the big thing I think that you point to against Michigan State and the problem they've had all year is the inability to run the ball. I mean, look at the Penn State game. There's a classic example. Fitz Toussaint gets 27 carries. He gets 27 yards.
Ugh.
That ain't going to get it done.
No.
Against Michigan State, you get negative yardage. You just cannot do that in college football and expect to win. And so the inability to run the ball, and clearly against Michigan State, the inability to protect Devin Gardner in the passing game. I mean, that if you want to look at some problems, that's the one that, in my eyes anyway, is the biggest one. You can talk turnovers all you want. I mean, when Devin turned the ball over against Akron and against Connecticut, it was not good, but they won those games. But he didn't really turn it over until late against Michigan State, and they didn't have a chance because they couldn't run the football. Their offensive line and I give Michigan State credit. I mean, they are number one defense in the country for a reason. Mm-hmm. But you cannot, not run the ball or not have any effective running game or any effective pass protection, and expect to win consistently.
We're talking with Jim Brandstander, the radio voice of Michigan Wolverine football. Remember, Nebraska, Michigan coming up 2:30 pregame this Saturday on our sister station, 1290 The Fan. I'm a big Brady Hoke supporter, Jim. I'm wondering, in your neck of the woods, has the love affair starting to wear off with this guy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, they're right now 6-2. Mm-hmm. If they win 3 of the next 4, if they win 4 of the next 4, they win 10 games. I mean, it's not like that's a lousy season.
No.
Yeah, I know expectations at the beginning of the year are one thing, but when you look at when it's all said and done, you got to kind of look at it from a big picture standpoint. And I don't think he's, he's in no trouble. He's the guy for the job. I mean, to suggest that he's not, to suggest that it's time that people start worrying about whether Brady Hoke should be the coach at Michigan, that's just nuts. He is the coach at Michigan, and he's the exact right guy for this job. He's recruited beautifully. Give him, and he's won. I mean, he won a BCS game in his first year.
Yeah.
And he just got reelected as the governor of New Jersey.
There you go.
This guy does it all.
Yeah, and he stayed up all night. And he got that victory speech, and he's back practicing in Ann Arbor today.
Hey, Jim, I got to ask you, you saw him up close and personal. Are you a believer in this Michigan State team? Can they win the Big Ten championship? Can they beat Ohio State?
Defensively, they're good enough to do it. I don't know whether they are offensively. Their defense carries them. I mean, but if you get another team that's able to move the ball on them, because I don't think offensively they have the explosiveness to really win, I think, a Big Ten championship. They're good. Don't get me wrong, and that defense is outstanding. But I mean, if you're going to win a Big Ten championship, you may have to get into a track meet somewhere. And if they have to do that, I'm not sure they win. But they're good, no question. And their offense is improving. And Connor Cook is getting better. But I just don't know whether you get into a real slugfest with another team. I mean, let's face it, Michigan, without even moving the ball, without even, barely moving the ball, barely having any chance at all, had a chance in that game late when they shouldn't have. I mean, the truth is, if you're a great team and you're going to win championships, Michigan State, and I think if you guys watched the game, offensively, they missed 3 or 4 plays that could have been touchdowns in the first half. And they could have had 30, 40 points in that game. They didn't, and they didn't put it away until real late. So while they're very, very good and defensively they're excellent, and they'll compete for a Big Ten championship. They certainly can. I think Ohio State is probably the team to beat right now.
I was going to ask you about that, too, because there was a point in time, I mean, up until recently, where it was unheard of that if a team came out of the Big Ten undefeated, that they would not play for a national title. Where here we have a situation with Ohio State, where Urban Meyer could go a second year without losing a game and may not even sniff the national championship game.
No, that shows you the reputation of the Big Ten. He hasn't beaten anybody. The strength of schedule ultimately will get Urban Meyer and Ohio State this year if they go unbeaten. And that to some degree, is their own fault. Look at their non-conference. They schedule their own non-conference games. And when you play a Florida International or whoever they played, you're not doing yourself any favors down the road in the in the pollsters' eyes. And yeah, you're right. But Big Ten's down. I mean, there's the Big Ten as a whole doesn't get a whole lot of respect. I mean, there's one team in the top 25.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, two or three, and the two that are in the besides Ohio State are like 17 and 22.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that doesn't show you got a great you have a great top to bottom competitive edge in the league. I mean, Northwestern was supposed to be a good team. They've lost a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Nebraska, what could they be? I mean, they've lost a couple of games, and they went on national television against Ohio State and laid a colossal egg. Penn State and Nebraska, just both of them went south. And so I don't know. I mean, but Ohio State, because of their schedule, you're right, and the lack of respect for the Big Ten across the country ultimately is going to hurt Ohio State in the very end, where they may not be able to get into a national championship game. And teams like Oregon and Alabama will. Alabama, look at Alabama.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on and chime you guys, but Alabama plays LSU this week, and Oregon plays Stanford. Oregon's already beaten Washington and some other teams.
Yep.
California, and SEC teams. I mean, Alabama's beaten Texas A&M. Alabama will have, if to get there, they will have beaten LSU. I mean, they just as a body of work, they're going to have a better schedule.
And you've been covering Big Ten football quite some time now, Jim. Is this the most watered down it's been?
It's down. I mean, clearly, it's down. Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. I would agree. I would say that it's probably. I mean, everybody's beating up everybody else, but in their, it's in their games. I mean, they've all had pretty decent, non-conference years, but in their non-conference games,
that's the key.
That are the huge, the big matchups like UCLA, Nebraska. UCLA wins.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan now beat Notre Dame, and Michigan State didn't beat Notre Dame. So that's the one big non-conference game. Everybody has one big one. Wisconsin, who did they play and get beat? Oh, Arizona. Arizona State, excuse me. They should have won that game.
They should have won, yeah.
But they didn't.
Because you got to practice downing the football.
Right, and yeah, that's true. And Ohio State didn't play anybody.
And it also didn't help that Northwestern, who was the show pony going into the season, well, ever since they lost to Ohio State, they haven't won a damn game since, including a humiliating loss to Nebraska last weekend.
Exactly. Those are all those things are the factors, I think, that go into the fact that the Big Ten's down. I mean, I wish it wasn't. I'm a Big Ten guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Minnesota beats Nebraska, and Minnesota is not considered to be a very good team.
No.
Michigan pounds them, right? Then Michigan gets pounded by Michigan State, and then Minnesota beats Nebraska. You look at all these games and how it goes. It just doesn't give you like that confidence that the conference has two or three teams that could go out anywhere in the country and knock some big guys off. It just doesn't show it that way.
It's Ragz and The Bartender with Jim Brandstatter. He called the game this weekend. A win against Nebraska would heal some wounds, and then a win, the final game of the season, would be real nice against Ohio State. Jim, we wish you the best of luck. Before we let you go, do the Lions come into town and steal a win here this weekend? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they do. I think the Lions are a pretty resilient, pretty good team, and I think that they see now that things are kind of the stars have aligned. So yeah, I think they go to Chicago, and they're a decent road team. I mean, they've beaten Cleveland, they've beaten Washington on the road, so it doesn't faze them. So I think, and I don't know whether Cutler's going to play.
No, he probably won't play.
It doesn't look like it, I think, but I think the Lions have a great chance. Although the Bears looked great against Green Bay, I think they look better against Green Bay than they have all year, even with Cutler.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a tall order. But, I think they will.
Jim, thanks for your time. Looking forward to hearing the game this weekend on 1290 The Fan. Good luck the rest of the season.
Okay, thanks, guys.
There you go. Follow him at BrandyManCan. Jim Brandstatter, what a great guy. And you know what? He called an amazing game, that Penn State game, too.
Yeah.
Because you could tell he was biting his tongue.
The guy's good.
Yeah.
Get hot.
That segment, by the way, brought to you by North End Cycle in Elkhart. Steve Wilfong Jr. is going to join us on the Pub and Grill Fan Toll-Free Hotline, Craig. Now, tell me about what did Notre Dame do?
Well, on Friday, before they even got into the Navy game, they got a big-time commitment from 4-star cornerback Nick Watkins from Dallas, Texas.
Steve Wilfong Jr. on the Pub
He's
and
not
Grill.
a junior.
Oh, yeah, I keep calling him Junior. We have two Wilfongs now. One's a junior, one's not.
Yeah.
Steve Wilfong.
He's a senior.
From 247sports.com.
Yet. We'll let you know.
Is coming up. And did Joe Philbin order the code red? We want him on that wall.
Can't handle
we need him on that wall. Incognito and the story with many, many, many layers, reaching many, many, many parts of this country, Craig, beyond sports. There's no doubt about it. It's Ragz and The Bartender on 95.7 The Fan and thefanmachine.com. Ragz and The Bartender, 822 on The Fan, 52 degrees out there. Good morning to you. Steve Wilfong going to join us from 247sports.com. Interested to hear his take on hazing, too, Craig, because he's around a lot of college teams, a lot of high school teams.
High school teams, too.
Yeah, so Steve from 247sports.com will join us, talk about the latest in Notre Dame recruits. You know, we were talking about playoff teams that might not get devastated if they got their quarterback down for the year or an extended period of time, like Aaron Rodgers. From the 369, we were talking about Hasselbeck is a good backup to have.
Yeah.
This guy disagrees. The Colts would be dreadful if Andrew Luck went down. His ability to make plays with his arm and his leg kept him in every game this year, and the defense not strong enough to support the likes of Hasselbeck and no Wayne.
But here's the thing. When you're looking at a backup, all you're really asking him to do is run the truest form of the offense.
Manage the game, too.
You're not asking him to be the difference maker. You're asking him, okay, we're giving you the framework of our offense. We just need you to guide it. A, B, C. And why people are in Chicago, some people are saying, okay, how come Josh McCown couldn't be the starting quarterback? Josh McCown is doing just that. Now, there's the offense, that he can run that offense. The difference between him and Cutler puts him on the next level where he can make the plays. They're not asking Josh McCown to make plays. They're asking him, in essence, to run that offense that he practices on a day-in and day-out basis, and that's why was a winning formula for them on Monday. They were asking him to go over and above his what he can do. They're asking him to be Josh McCown in that system. That's what made it work.
45364 is where you want to text us, and of course you can also tweet with us at RagsTheFan, at BartenderTheFan, at TheFanMichiana.
And you know what's similar to that? That's Tommy Rees. They're not asking Tommy Rees to do anything over and above what Tommy Rees capably can do in this offense. The difference last year was that Everett Golson gave them an escapability. They can't ask Tommy to be Everett Golson, but what they ask him to do is get the ball to the playmakers.
Yeah, because he can't obviously run.
Right.
He can't get out of trouble.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Craig. And Tommy's done a good job of it. He's 7-2 all season. I mean, what more, all he's ever done is won games here. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it. I know everybody doesn't like him, but listen, he's won games. All right, Joe, how high does this go up with the Dolphins here, Craig, as the reports are coming out now? And everything, it seems like every day a different layer of this comes off.
It is.
Now reports are that the coaches knew he was soft and wanted to, quote, toughen him up.
Yes.
So might have, for lack of a better term, ordered the code red.
Yes, indeed. It looked like they were the ones that actually fueled the fire. Now we got to find out who was the one that told Richie Incognito to help toughen this guy up in spring camp. Who in the mini camp said, hey, Richie, he wants you to help us toughen this guy up.
Isn't there a point in time where the buck stops with Joe Philbin, though? He is the head coach.
Yeah.
He's got to know what his generals are doing.
That's not the guy you asked to toughen a certain guy up. Yes, I realize that he is the team captain. Yes, I realize that he's the Good Guy Award winner from last season, according to the South Florida writers. However, with his history and knowing that he had baggage coming into the Miami Dolphins, already being on his third team because the first two teams didn't want anything to do with him anymore, that's not the guy you asked to do that.
No.
He took it way too far, as we found out since then.
And it's not like this guy doesn't have that reputation. Even Brian Urlacher brought it up, talking about the playing with him once before.
Yeah, I played against Richie as well when he was in St. Louis, and he was the guy during the week that we coaches watch out for. If you're around the pile, look out for this guy. He's dirty. He's this. He was the most dirtiest player in the NFL. And when those games I played against him, he wasn't that way. He wasn't like that. He was actually a cool guy on the field. Never been around him other than that, though.
He was actually voted as the dirtiest player in the league one
by
year.
His own peers.
Yeah.
So the reputation was already there.
And I'm telling you, there's some roid rage going into this too, Craig. This guy is obscenely big.
Well, I don't know about that.
Why
That's
not?
Never come out.
Why not? These guys are on steroids. Let's face it.
That's purely speculation.
You're telling me these guys aren't on steroids?
I'm saying that's speculation when we're talking about this particular case.
Well,
He's
I
never
would not rule it out.
Or anything else. That's just, we can't speculate on that. We will. There is confirmation that he is a DB.
I mean,
there is confirmed that he is one of the biggest idiots and the last guy you want in your clubhouse on a regular basis. That is confirmed. We've heard it over and over and over again, all the way back to his days in Nebraska. This is not the guy that should be a leader of anything.
No, he's not. And
how
it seems
did you
like,
vote him as a team captain?
Well, it seems like he ran that locker room.
That's what it is, because nobody wanted to go against him. It's just kind of like New Jack City. Now I can vote.
All right, New Jack City. That's a good one, Craig.
Who went against Nino Brown? Wonder why nobody went against Nino Brown? Because you didn't want to end up that wasn't Christopher. That's Christopher Williams. You didn't want to end up with a sword in your hand at the meeting.
You got some of your movie credentials back there. Your movie card back there.
Yeah, you
went to New Jack City. That's not bad.
You didn't talk out against Richie Incognito in that clubhouse, even though you know how he was treating Martin was wrong. The reason why? Because you didn't want to end up as you said, the roid rage idiot coming at you. You'd rather have him going up against Martin because it's easier that way.
And then you have his former teammate Zach Ertz was talked to yesterday, and the guy's actually talking about playing again because Zach and him are friends in their Cardinal days, and Zach talks about his conversation with Jonathan.
He just said that he's doing all right. He will come back and play. I know that's kind of been thrown out that they don't know if he's going to come back, but from what he told me yesterday, he's looking forward to coming back and playing.
What kind of reception will he get in that locker room, though, Craig? I mean, because he broke one of the major codes of a locker room. Well, and that's that we police ourselves, brother.
Well, it's going to be interesting because if Richie Incognito is one of your leaders and you don't really have a damn leader in the clubhouse to begin with, because that should never happen. As we hear more and more people come out, we had Tim Brown on the Tim Brown Show talk about it. If you're letting Richie Incognito lead you, you don't have no leaders.
No.
Because somebody should have came in and said, hey, back off.
You're right. You're
back
absolutely
off this
right.
guy, okay? He's not a rookie anymore. We have a whole other rookie class, by the way. And by the way, we're not that damn good for you to be hazing Martin, our starting left tackle.
Yeah. Somebody's just going to have to explain to me how making someone pay a $30,000 trip to Vegas toughens you up.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand that.
And somebody nobody stepped in.
No.
That's the problem. And if true enough, if Joe Philbin was the one to say, hey, we need you to tell this kid, then Joe Philbin should be gone.
Gone. He might be gone anyway. There's going to be some casualties from this war.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. Somebody's going to go. Heads will roll.
Well, the good thing is that their next game nobody's going to watch anyways on Monday Night Football, and they face the
Buccaneers,
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which Richie Incognito will get if he's in the studio with Mike Tirico and John Gruden, who'll spend 3 hours getting berated by John Gruden.
You know how
the Clay High School products.
You know how Gruden does his little breakdown thing. I want him in the room with Incognito and Martin. I just want that. And they don't need to play football. I want that. 3 hours of that. That would be awesome.
I'm going to show you this clip. What are you saying to this guy here? What are you saying to him?
What's this text mean?
Yeah. Are you asking him to go to Vegas with you? What's going on right here?
And, Gruden's one of those guys during the course of the game doesn't say many bad things about players.
Oh.
So that would be interesting. That'd be good 3 hours right there.
Yes. I'd love it.
It's Ragz and the Bartender, 247sports.com. Steve Wilfong on the phone with us next. He's got some good news. I want to get a Shaq Van update, too, see if he's got anything about possible people contacting him now that his season is over. Steve Wilfong on the Pub and Grill fan toll-free hotline next. It's Ragz and the Bartender, 95.7 The Fan and thefanmachine.com. Ragz and the Bartender, 8:36 coming up on The Fan. Good morning to you, Craig. 23-year-old guy won the World Series of Poker.
Really?
Did you see how much he won?
No, how much?
$8.4 million. Some 23-year-old punk
That's just
steals it from Vegas. Good job by him.
What's he going to do with it?
I don't know. And by the way, Tiger fans, we got a word here from Ken Rosenthal about the future of Max Scherzer, and it might not be as a Tiger. We'll talk about that before we get out of here. 9 o'clock is Dan Patrick, and more baseball news by the time we get out of here, too, with the Cubs are losing another guy, it looks like, Craig. The guy they really wanted.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those situations where there's a little known rule between the Cubs and the Red Sox that may prevent them from being able to interview the guy they want for the managerial job. Now, of course, we bring in a guy that knows everything about the world of high school and college recruiting. It is our buddy Steve Wilfong for 24/7 Sports. What's going on, Big Daddy?
Gentlemen, what's happening, fellas?
Now, wait, time out. Before we get into that, you were praising us off the air. I'd like some praise on the air, Steve Wilfong, about how much you love coming on in your hometown.
Yeah, man, I love the opportunity the fan gives me to speak to the people in South Bend, my people.
Yes, and your people got to see Torian Folson's breakout party, and, of course, 24/7 Sports kind of predicted that he was going to be a good running back at the next level a couple years ago.
Well, during the recruiting process, we recruited several times, myself and my former colleague Jason Sapp, that Torian Folston was the top running back on Notre Dame's board. And what a fantastic get for Tony Alford to go down to Cocoa, Florida, beat out the SEC schools, hold off a late charge from Auburn, get Folston signed. Folston was banged up early this year, but got a chance to show what Notre Dame thought of him this past week. It'll be interesting to see how Folston plays the rest of the year, because I do think that Notre Dame has a lot of weapons on offense and a lot of guys that can hurt an opponent. And I think each week you could see a different name emerge. George Atkinson, certainly a big play guy. Cam McDaniels made his fair share of plays this year. Then you look at T.J. Jones and DeVaris Daniels and Troy Nicholas. Notre Dame has a lot of weapons on offense that can hurt you, and Torian Folston has emerged as another guy that opposing defenses have to worry about.
Steve Wilfong on the Pub and Grill fan toll-free hotline. Steve, now let me ask you this. Does that hurt recruiting when you have a running back situation where any week anybody gets the bulk of the carries? You never know. So if I'm a running back coming out of high school and I want to run the ball, why would I go to Notre Dame? I might not get featured on some weeks.
Well, the flip side of that is a high school kid can say maybe they're not featuring somebody because no one's gone out and actually taken the job. And maybe that's me. Maybe a Bo Scarborough, out of IMG Academy in Florida, currently committed to Alabama, but took an official visit to Notre Dame for the USC game, says, well, I could be the featured back. I think I can take everybody's carries and be the guy. And then another thing to look at is, if you're in high school, you're seeing that Notre Dame's playing a lot of young guys. And you're like, if I'm a freshman and I earn the opportunity to get some snaps on Saturdays, that the Notre Dame coaches are not afraid to throw their freshmen in the fire. So, maybe some kids are saying it the way you see it, Rags, but at the same time, that flip side's definitely relevant as well.
Well, of course, Notre Dame did get a big get-on back on Friday, even before the Navy game, where they picked up Nick Watkins, a four-star quarterback from Dallas, Texas, 6'1", 189 pounds. How good is this kid right now?
Yeah, how about that? Kerry Cook's going down into Texas, Dallas Bishop Dunn High School, beating out the Longhorns, Alabama, Texas A&M, and schools like that for Nick Watkins. It was more a matter of when for Nick. Notre Dame emerged as the leader when he visited over the spring or summer for the coaches clinic. His coaching staff came up to South Bend, and Nick came with them. And then Nick got a chance to see Notre Dame play against Arizona State in Dallas, and then obviously took the trip to Notre Dame for the USC game and committed shortly shortly after. You're talking about another 6'1", long, rangy corner. He's a playmaker now. 8 interceptions this year, I believe. Had 5 interceptions as a freshman.
Wow.
Has a bunch of interceptions on the high school level. A guy that's really active defensively and fits the bill of that bigger defensive back that Notre Dame's looking for. And you look at his offer list, the Under Armour All-American, could have went virtually anywhere he wanted.
Steve Wilfong from 247sports.com. And Steve, with 2 months to go till National Signing Day, 2 months and some days here, let me ask you this. Is Michigan, they still in the running for this Leonard Fournette kid out of New Orleans? You got them ranked pretty high. They could use a running back, that's for sure. Although they'll be competing against the southern schools like Alabama and LSU. Do they have a legitimate shot at this kid?
No, I think Fournette's, either going to end up at LSU or Alabama. Michigan's not really a player for Leonard. You look at Michigan's recruiting class; it's ranked in our top 10 right now. They have 2 big fish on the board in defensive lineman, 5-star Deshaun Hand, the number 1 strong side defensive end, who's taking an official visit to Florida this weekend, and then we'll decide next week, I believe. And then you have Malik McDowell, the top 50 defensive lineman out of Southfield in the Detroit area, U.S. Army All-American. Michigan looks like the heavy favorite for him. And, if the Wolverines can finish with those 2, I believe that would give them 2 5-stars and 11 4-stars in an 18-player recruiting class. Not bad. Will be another top 10 haul for Brady Hoke and company.
And they also got that safety Peppers already, right?
Yeah, Peppers is fantastic. He's my number 1 recruit in the country. He could be a 5-star running back. He's a 5-star corner, 5-star safety, 5-star return man, aspiring orthopedic surgeon, top of the line musician. It doesn't get any more well-rounded than that. He's a winner. I think he's won a state championship every year he's been in high school so far. 2 at Bosco, 1 at Paramus Catholic. He's the total package. He won't miss at Michigan. He'll be on the field next year, and he'll be making a ton of plays.
What about Drew Tranquill? I know he visited Purdue, which is where he's committed to right now, but I know Notre Dame and some other schools have been sniffing. What's his status right now?
Well, it's basically down to Purdue and Notre Dame. He's been committed to Purdue since the summer. Notre Dame offered shortly after he committed, really making it challenging on Drew. He's visited both places a few times this fall. He was at Purdue this past weekend for the game against Ohio State. I think Notre Dame leads right now. I don't expect Drew to make a decision until after his team is done with the state playoffs. Obviously, they're hoping to win the state championship, but I don't think he wants his college decision to be a distraction to his team. So he's going to focus on the season and not make any decisions until they're done. They play Carmel on Friday, so they got a tough ball game at home in the 3rd round of the state playoffs. So we'll see what happens. I think Tranquill's a fantastic player. Talking about a 210-pound kid that I saw run 4.5 handheld, 4.1 pro agility hand at the same event that Jalen Smith ran 4.4 the year before. So you're talking about a fantastic athlete here, a guy that Notre Dame's recruiting as a defensive athlete, a guy that could play safety or linebacker. And a lot of folks are comparing him to the same type of player Zeke Motto was.
Wow.
And who's improving their stock here in the high school playoffs locally? I mean, obviously, I want to ask you about Shaq Van in a second, but as they're still playing, who is raising some eyebrows now the last couple of weeks? Anybody?
Yeah, I don't know if there's just a guy that you look at and say, man, he's having an outstanding postseason, so now he's going to get some offers, But it's definitely been an exciting postseason. I don't know how I feel about the 6 classes, but there's been some great games. Pike defeating Ben Davis down here in Indianapolis last week, where Pike found out earlier in the day their head coach wouldn't be coaching in that game for disciplinary reasons that I disagree with. But anyway, so there's definitely been some exciting football games, but I can't point to one guy and say, yeah, this young man is putting himself on the map with a great postseason. Talking Shaq Van, he's got the MAC offers, and the Big Ten schools will evaluate his senior game film, and we'll see what happens. I know he's still on the radar with Purdue, and we all know that's one of the offers he would like to have. So, we'll see what happens there.
And, of course, a lot of schools, especially Purdue, can look at what's going on with IU and how they continue to recruit in-state, including a kid down your way, Stevie, in Indianapolis, Decatur Central, quarterback Tommy Stevens. He got an offer from IU over the weekend.
Yeah, so that's 3 now. He's kind of emerged as the top quarterback in the state in the next year's class. Iowa, Cincinnati, and Indiana have already extended early offers. He's hearing from a ton of other schools. He'll visit Purdue on Saturday, Purdue on Saturday. So we'll see if the Boilermakers make a move on him and give him offer number 4. But he's a dual threat guy that also, plays safety. You don't see too many high school quarterbacks on the 5A level go both ways. The game I was at this year against Roncalli, he played basically every snap in the game and was a playmaker on both sides of the ball. Definitely one of the state's top players in 2015, and a guy that was excited about what he saw when he was at Indiana this past Saturday for the Minnesota game. Obviously, it was a tough loss for the Hoosiers, but the offense put up a bunch of points and looked exciting, and that was something Tommy could see himself making plays in perhaps down the road.
Steve Wiltfong from 247sports.com. Thanks for some time. Where are you heading this weekend?
Well, I'm going to Yorktown, West Lafayette, in the Muncie area to see another 2015 quarterback. His name's Riley Neal. He's put up some big-time numbers for Yorktown, so looking forward to seeing him. I got a chance to see him at Ball State's camp in the summer, so I'm going to check that out, and then I'm going to head up to Ann Arbor and see what Michigan and Nebraska are talking about on Saturday.
Nice.
Fun atmosphere there.
All right, Stevie, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Take care, fellas. Appreciate it always.
On the Pub and Grill fan toll-free hotline, Steve Wiltfong Jr. Ask about the Pub and Grill lunch card.
Here's what we're going to do to Steve.
Hold on a second. Ask about the Pub and Grill lunch card. Buy 5 lunches, get the 6 free. What are we doing to Steve?
We're going to come up with the fictitious name and tell him to give us the background.
Just come up with some, hey, how's Joe Schmo doing down in... He'll probably come up with some. You'll watch. He's good.
He's a great player from Indianapolis Cathedral.
Now the danger in that is there might be someone named the name we bring up. It is Indiana. It's a big state. It's Ragz and the Bartender, and one of our favorite was we follow high school football. Ben Downey earlier, of course, Steve there. There's a great website you guys need to jump on. We're going to check in with it next. thefanvsn.com. All your needs in high school sports, not just football. Everywhere you need to go is thefanvsn.com. Kyle Newman, who writes articles, runs the website, does everything for that site. In studio, we're going to talk to him next. It's Ragz and the Bartender, 95.7 The Fan and the Fan Machine. Ragz and the Bartender, 8:53, 52 degrees out there. It is Wednesday, November 6th. Remember, Bulls-Pacers tonight, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip-off down in Indy. And remember, today, win Bulls tickets on our Facebook page that you can find at thefanmichiana.com. And that is for Friday night's Utah Jazz game at the United Center. So good luck there. Head over to Facebook right now. I made mention of the, hot stove starting to heat up, starting to get warm. Max Scherzer, they would give him a lot of relief on their payroll, Craig, if they got rid of him this year. His stock's never going to be higher. And he has a history with the GM over at the Nationals, and Rizzo drafted him, remember? So how about if a trade gets done, Scherzer to the Nats? It's in talks right now.
Ooh, we'll see.
They could use the power arms over there in Nationals, and I'm sure Dombrowski is very aware of their payroll situation.
Yeah.
But you give away a Cy Young?
Well, if you
get something back in return.
If you don't think you can afford him going into free agency next year, then maybe you try to get something for him now.
That's what they did with R.A. Dickey, the Mets did, right?
Yes, they did.
Two Cy Youngs 2 years in a row get traded? That'd be interesting.
No doubt about it.
All right, well, you can go to thefanvsn.com. Big weekend coming up. Sectional finals in the area in football. We've got St. Joe versus New Prairie. I want to thank Coach Ben Downey for joining us on the Pub and Grill Fan Toll-Free Hotline earlier as we got ready for that game. But here to come in and talk about other high school sports from thefanvsn.com, our good buddy Kyle Newman. Kyle, how have you been?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. You got some new articles I see up on your great website, thefanvsn.com. Tell people in this listening area what they're going to get when they go there now.
Okay, well, a lot of stuff going on, postseason play, heating up all across the board. So right now, our newest article is a multimedia recap of the soccer state finals. That was in Indianapolis this past Saturday.
And what happened? Tell me about it.
Just great competitive matches all across the board. 3 of the 4 schools that won their first state title. Girls 1A, West Lafayette. Boys 1A, Guerin Catholic. And then girls 2A, Avon. They all won their first state title. And then boys 2A, Crown Point won their second in 3 years. So kind of building a dynasty down there, I think. But it was just great competitive play all across the board. The two-way games went into overtime. So
and of course, at the Fan VSN on Twitter as well, and you're very active. Which game are you heading to for football this weekend? You going down to New Prairie St. Joe game?
New Prairie St. Joe's. We'll be there.
Excellent. And you'll be all over the map, though, of course, covering all the other games going on. You can see the full brackets while you're at the fanvsn.com.
Right. And it's also going to be a busy weekend again this weekend. Friday, as I said, I'll be out at St. Joe's, live covering that game. And then Saturday, heading to Muncie for the volleyball state finals.
Wow.
And first match starts at 11 a.m. at Worthen Arena. So I'll be out there live tweeting that. And you can also head to the fanvsn.com to check out our volleyball state finals preview, which is up there as well.
And how's things going there? Are you liking it? Are you enjoying your job here, Kyle?
You know what? I can't have any complaints. Just my job is basically watching sports, writing about sports, shooting photos of sports. So
it's a tough one.
It's a really tough. Yeah, it's a really tough job. I can't complain though.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job, and again, it's a great website. And Craig and I go there a lot. It's thefanvsn.com. Thanks for popping in this morning. Any articles you're working on that you want to give us a little preview there, Kyle?
Yeah, I got some things in the works about some female athletes playing, sports with the boys.
So going on the boys team and playing.
Right.
Right, cool.
So next couple weeks you'll see that up there. And also one more quick thing, we're looking for interns right now for the Fan Varsity Sports Network. And let me tell you, if you're interested in sports journalism, this is a great gig for you. If you're a high school or college student, you will be a reporter. Be basically what I'm doing out at games, live tweeting, writing, a lot of autonomy with this gig. So if you're interested, email me at knewman@thefanvsn.com.
There you go. Thefanvsn.com. Check it out. And at thefanvsn on Twitter. Craig, before we get out of here, I brought up what would the locker room be like for Incognito if he comes back, and plays for the Dolphins again. And somebody texted in from the 548, maybe Martin making it public, he'll be welcomed back with open arms because Incognito, maybe he dominated that locker room and we got rid of this guy.
Yeah, and finally the cancer is gone. We kind of hit on it earlier. There's some behind the scenes wranglings that's going on with the Cubs managerial job when it comes to Red Sox bench coach Torey Lovullo. Now, there's reports out there that he's going to interview for that gig this week. But there's a agreement between the Red Sox and the Cubs that's holding this thing up right now because, of course, when Theo Epstein came over from the Red Sox and everything else, there was a quote-unquote agreement that they wouldn't interview or try to take anyone from the Red Sox staff.
Wow.
Well, now, of course, they want to try to interview Torey Lovullo, the bench coach, which Theo hired into the Red Sox back in 2010. So the reports say he will get the interview this week, but to actually hire him, there's going to be some talks between the Cubs and Red Sox ownership.
Before we get out of here in 30 seconds, what's that job Nick Saban wants?
Texas. His people says there's an email that has been uncovered.
But wait a minute. Nick Saban said he would never do that.
He said he's too old to move.
He's always been straight up with us, telling us he's not going to take a job.
That's right.
Right? So why would he do that again?
I don't know. But according to this email, his people says, yes, we look at the Texas job.
Oh, brother.
I know.
Why? Grass is not greener. You dominate the sports world. Why would you want to do?
But all you have to recruit is in one state. And you get carte blanche in that state. It's called Texas.
Yeah. Dan Patrick coming up next. We're back on a Wednesday show tomorrow. Enjoy Bulls Pacers later on. It's Ragz and The Bartender. 95.7 The Fan.
TheFanMachine.com.